Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Abbas Naqvi, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. Okay, so let's begin. Before we talk about Flutter, I would like to introduce you to the company that I'm working for. Xavor Corporation has been in the tech industry for nearly 30 years. We started very small in a garage, actually, and since then we've grown by leaps and bounds. Today, we have a presence in three different countries, in the US, in China, and in Pakistan. We have over 1,000 successful projects. We offer a range of services, but mostly our best-selling services include artificial intelligence, business intelligence, and data analytics, cloud operations, Salesforce development, and enterprise system integrations. Okay, so Flutter, that's the topic for today's webinar. And the goal here is to enlighten you as to how you can elevate your app experience or app development experience using Flutter. And something interesting about Flutter is that so many of our clients, they come and they actually want to reduce the IT spend. So if they've got teams of Android developers and iOS developers, they have to pay at least twice the amount that they would be paying if they had Flutter developers. So it reduces the team size and gives immense cost savings. And not only that, but Flutter is known for giving a very consistent user experience. So more on this later on. I'll introduce the speakers that we have today. We have Abid Mahmood. He is the senior mobile app developer at Xavor Corporation. And we have Umar Ghaffar. He's a mobile app developer, and Abir Hussain Rizvi, who's also a mobile app developer. The agenda for today's webinar is Abid will be introducing Flutter to the audience. Then we have Omar, who will be discussing why Flutter matters, and he will be comparing it with other app development frameworks. Then Abir will be discussing personal real-world use cases. And then we will be concluding with personal narratives from each of our speakers, followed by a question and answer session. All right, so let's begin. Abid, can you take the floor and introduce Flutter to our audience, please?
Thank you, Vas. Hey everyone, my name is Abid Mahmood and I am a senior mobile developer here at Xavor. I have been working here for almost 2.5 years as of now. I had an opportunity for developing mobile applications using different frameworks and languages like Java and Kotlin for Android, Objective-C and Swift for iOS, and Flutter for cross-platform applications. I am responsible for developing new applications, adding new features, and maintenance for existing applications. That's all about me. So let's get to the introduction of Flutter. Let's say you need to develop an app which has same user interfaces and backend for different platforms. So you don't want to allocate multiple resources for achieving this unless you choose to do so. All you need is to develop a single code-based application which runs on all platforms. That's where Flutter comes in handy. It is an open source framework developed by Google. It is the most versatile framework across platform applications in terms of adaptive UI, speed, and responsiveness. So let's put the Flutter in a nutshell. The real magic of Flutter is its ability to create applications for multiple platforms. This has made a developer's life easier for building natively compiled mobile, web, and desktop applications from a single code base. When we say natively compiled, what does it mean? It means Flutter compiles your code to the machine code of device it runs on. This leads to exceptional performance and responsiveness. Flutter has a strong community for mobile application development, but for the web and desktop community, it is still growing. So in a nutshell, Flutter is all about fast, beautiful, and natively compiled application that runs on multiple platforms, allowing developers to work more efficiently and produce stunning user interfaces. Now let's explore some of the key features. The most handy feature of Flutter is hot reload, which allows developers to make code changes and see the results almost immediately without restarting the app. When you are developing an app in iOS or Android, so when you want to make some changes and want to see these changes on the screen, you have to manually restart or relaunch the application. But in Flutter, it is tackled by the hot reload method. Also, Flutter offers fast development. That is actually what hot reload does. It speeds up the development process and gives you time to fix any issues. Because Flutter has a single code base, it means it only needs one programming language, which is actually Dart, to build applications for all the platforms. Flutter also offers screen reader. So when a screen reader is active, contents of the app will be read aloud as they gain focus. This allows visually impaired users to interact with your application and for its content will be presented through a non-visual interface. However, it also changes the fundamental mechanism for how user will explore your application. Flutter is cross-platform framework. So cross-platform frameworks typically work by creating an abstraction layer over the underlying native UI libraries, attempting to smooth out the consistency of each platform representation. App code is often written in the interpretive language like JavaScript, which must in turn interact with the Java-based Android and Objective-C and Swift-based iOS system libraries. All these adds overhead that can be significant, particularly where there are a lot of interactions between UI and the app logic. By contrast, Flutter minimizes those abstractions by passing the system UI widget libraries in favor of its own widget set. The Dart code that paints Flutter visuals is compiled into native code, which uses Skia for rendering. Skia is actually Flutter's own renderer, which paints all of the layouts. Uh, Also, Flutter embeds its own copy of Skia as a part of engine, allowing the developer to upgrade their app to stay updated with the latest performance improvements, even if the phone hasn't been updated with the new Android version or the iOS version. By writing a single code base in Flutter, we can build applications for multiple platforms. Flutter compiles your code to the machine code of the device it runs on. This leads to exceptional performance and responsiveness. Since Flutter is open source and free, anybody can adopt it to develop applications. Also, it has a strong community for mobile applications. When it comes to themes for any app, Android and iOS have entirely different and unique themes. Flutter offers themes for Android and iOS. It means when compiling build for iOS and Android, it draws the layout for respective platforms, which then is displayed to the user. Thank you, Abbas.
Thank you so much, Abid, for introducing Flutter and explaining its key features to our audience. Umar, I'd like to invite you to talk about why Flutter matters and compare it with React Native to you.
Yeah. Hello everyone. Welcome to today webinar. Thank you for first of all, thank you for joining us. My name is Umar Ghaffar and I am a mobile application developer in Xavor Corporation. Over 5 years a year of experience, I am specialized in crafting high quality applications in native and cross-platform tools. So guys, today I'm here to discuss with you how Flutter is better than other platforms for mobile application development. There are many right now. There are many frameworks for developing mobile applications other than a Flutter, such as React Native, Cordova, Xamarin, Ionic, etc. But Flutter and React Native are the most popular frameworks for mobile application development. Therefore, we will see how Flutter is better than React Native due to their popularity. So let's start the things by getting to know Flutter. Flutter is actually developed by Google and it was released in back 2017. It is a very versatile framework for building apps across various platforms, which include your iOS, Android, web, and desktop as well. On the other hand, if we talk about React Native, it is maintained by Facebook and it is much older framework released in 2015. And React Native mostly focuses for building applications only for iOS and Android. One of the most significant advantage of Flutter is that it is single code base. Unlike React Native and other traditional native development, we can write one set of code for all platforms, which reduce our development time, effort, and cost. Flutter offers high customizable widgets, which allows creation of stunning user interfaces in the mobile apps. It provides unmatched flexibility in design as compared to React Native. On the other hand, if we talk about React Native, it mostly relies on native components, which can be limiting in terms of design customization. Success of a mobile application is highly dependent on its performance, and Flutter is far better than React Native in performance because React Native actually uses bridging to connect with the native components, which can lead to performance bottleneck in complex application. Whereas Flutter directly compiles the code to the native machine code, which results in smooth animation and speedy app startups. So another thing that performance. Achieving seamless integration with third-party services and native module is a crucial aspect of mobile application development. And Flutter is easily connectable with external services, libraries, functionalities, even IoT devices as well. And these things are not actual part of core Flutter framework, which makes it a very strong choice for application that requires extensive device capabilities and connection to external services due to AOT and JIT, which is actually ahead of time and just-in-time compilation. On the other hand, it can be very challenging in React Native, especially when compared to Flutter. The difficulties in React Native include several reasons, which can be platform diversity, native code bridging, variations in third-party services, and synchronization. In contrast, Flutter architecture and design choices led to a more straightforward and seamless integration process, especially when dealing with third-party services and native modules. So, when we consider the reduced development time, a single code base, lower maintenance cost, and better performance, Flutter emerged as a cost-effective choice for mobile application development, which outshines React Native and other cross-platform tools. Now, we need to also see architecture of Flutter and React Native. Flutter and React Native both communicate with the native machine code, but there is a difference. Flutter doesn't require any kind of bridging or source of communication because Flutter engine is primarily written in C++. It provides a slow level implementation of Flutter core API, which includes widget rendering, text layout files, and network request as well. Since engine is compiled to native machine code, it can interface with the platform without requiring widget. Moreover, Flutter offers its own platform channels. With platform channels, we can send messages between Dart and native code. So Flutter advantages over React Native are indisputable. It combines single code base, top tier performance, rapid development, and flourishing community and effectiveness, making it a superior choice of mobile application development. Although we know that React Native was released in 2015 and it is a much older framework as compared to Flutter. But if we compare the stats of last 1 to 5 years, then Flutter emerges a clear winner and its community is flourishing by a good margin. It means that more number of developers are adopting Flutter now. Now we need to talk with native app development as well. Native app development involves writing separate code for each platform, which results in more development time and effort. And native development typically requires expertise in languages like Swift for iOS and Java Kotlin for Android. So for native development, you need to hire separate resources for both for Android and separate for iOS, which can be more time taking and it is more costable. Moreover, native development has the most extensive set of platform-specific library, which can be challenging to integrate due to difference in specification of Android and iOS. So in conclusion, Flutter advantages over React Native and native development are very clear. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Omar, for giving us a very comprehensive comparison between Flutter and native React Native. I will be turning to Abir to share real-world use cases of Flutter. Abir, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Abbas, and hello everyone. First of all, let me just introduce myself briefly. I am Abhi Rizvi, currently working as a mobile application developer at Xavor Corporation. Unlike our other speakers today, I started my mobile application development journey with Flutter. So today I would try to share my distinct perspective with all of you. Uh, that's all about myself. Now, speaking about Flutter, Flutter isn't just a buzzword, it's making a real impact across various industries. Remarkably, Flutter has gained recognition among prominent worldwide brands as a choice for app development. Now, let's just delve into some practical use cases. Starting with BMW. BMW, a leading luxury car manufacturer, and it chose Flutter to create its innovative apps. Why? Because it allowed them to provide a seamless and personalized experience to its customers. They no longer had to worry about managing multiple code bases, which effectively solved the problem of feature disparity. All BMW customers now enjoy a single experience regardless of the platform they use to access the app. All in all, the team was able to move faster, maintain consistency, and delight users by making the switch to Flutter. Next, we have Rive. The team at Rive rewrote their powerful animation tool entirely in Flutter to enable developers to create beautiful, stunning multi-platform illustrations. After Rive launched their first editor in Flutter, their code base became much easier to maintain and allowed engineers to onboard and start writing code immediately. This has allowed them to develop much richer experiences in Rive, including animations, interactive graphics, and fluid and reactive layouts. The next example we will be talking about is Toyota. Speaking of another giant from the automotive industry, a global automobile manufacturer we all know about has also chosen Flutter for developing its next generation infotainment system. With Flutter, Toyota now offers a visually stunning and highly responsive user interface that seamlessly integrates with the car's hardware and its software. The team credits Flutter's large and open source ecosystem for helping them achieve their goal. Next up, we will be reviewing Google Pay, a mobile payment service developed by Google, the developer and supporter of Flutter itself. The prominent digital wallet and online payment platform also relies on Flutter to create a consistent and innovative user experience across various devices and platforms. The app enables users to carry out secure payments, oversee their finances, and accumulate multiple rewards. Let's conclude with a prime example of the official app for the hit Broadway musical Hamilton. When the team at Hamilton decided to build an app to engage fans both in and outside the theater, they knew they needed an app that has customized experience along with exceptional performance. And so they decided to use Flutter. Let me just add this as well that this was the first app built with Flutter outside Google. And according to the team, it was faster and more fun to work with and allowed them to add features to the app on a weekly basis. The app offers many exciting features, including fan exclusive content, daily lotteries for show tickets, a wealth of information about the production itself, and to top it off, the app also featured an augmented reality experience. As you might expect, there are thousands of apps like these, and if you want to discover more of these amazing showcases, you can head over to flutter.dev/showcase. I hope the success of all the apps I shared with you helped showcase the capabilities of Flutter as a cross-platform development framework and contributed to its growing popularity in the mobile application development community. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and attention.
Definitely, definitely. These examples have made a point that Flutter is really the top choice for many leading companies around the world. All right, so turning to personal narratives, Abid, can you share your story about how your experience has been using Flutter?
Sure, Abbas. So when I decided to move to cross-platform application development, I filtered out two main frameworks, which were React Native and Flutter. But in the end, I chose Flutter, and there are certain reasons behind this. One of the reasons was React Native actually, when it tries to draw the layouts on the screen, it actually communicates with the native UI APIs of the Android and iOS applications. So it is kind of slow because it uses a middle abstraction layer, which is also written in another language like JavaScript. But in the case of Flutter, Flutter actually uses its own render engine, which is Kia, as I mentioned before, to draw its layout directly on the screen without using any middle layer. It actually does not communicate with the native UI APIs. So that's why it is faster and smoother in terms of animations and rendering the screen. But when it comes to accessibility, there comes some challenges too. The main challenge I faced during the development with Flutter was that there are some scenarios where I cannot find libraries which communicate with the native platform APIs. For example, if I want to extract some information like MAC address of the device or some other information like that, Flutter does not provide any libraries to do so. So to tackle such situation, Flutter offers platform channels. It's actually a form of communication to communicate from Flutter to the native and Android or iOS, and from Android iOS to the native. So by doing this, Flutter offers a great way of communication. By doing so, it also tackles the some other challenges, like if there are some issues where I cannot uh, draw the UI as expected and expected in the design. So all I can do that I design the UI in native language like Objective-C or Swift, and or in the case of Android, Java or Kotlin. And then by using channels, I can import those UI elements into the Flutter, and then I can use it directly into the Flutter.
Okay, great. Great, Abid. That was great. Umar, can you share your experience with us about using Flutter?
Yeah, sure, Abbas. Thank you for giving me opportunity to share my perspective about Flutter. So, first of all, I want to share that I didn't started my professional career as a Flutter developer. I started my professional journey as a native mobile application developer, and I write code for Android natively and Swift iOS for iOS native. So, in the beginning, it was okay for me, but by the time the it was requirement of client for having consistent applications across various platforms. As we know that it involves typically separate code for each platform for iOS and Android, and both iOS and Android uses different set of libraries. Usually Android use Material Design and iOS use Cupertino Design. So if we are building an application natively on Android and iOS, it is very hard to make sure consistency is there. Even let me give you an example. Even you have saw the WhatsApp, the WhatsApp for
Yeah,
Android and WhatsApp for iOS. You can observe that WhatsApp is developed in native, and you can observe that UI is not consistent between Android and iOS because
that's true.
Android and
That's true.
iOS has its own design libraries. So and another thing, when developing an application, it will be more time taking for being an employer, that there are two different resources who are working on two different applications, and still the applications are not consistent, their functionalities are even not consistent. So Flutter is the best approach. Although there are other, we can say, other cross platform tools. I also worked on React Native, I also worked on
Right.
Ionic, but why I choose Flutter as my primary stack? The reason is this simple: because Flutter doesn't need any kind of communication source while app is running. In React Native, we use bridging. In Ionic, there is also a bridging concept in Ionic as well. But Flutter has its own set of libraries, its own platform channels that directly compile your machine code. So
Right.
this is also the reason that I worked in React Native, Ionic, Flutter, and being a developer, according to my perspective, the Flutter app performance is faster as compared to the React Native and Ionic. When your application is large, in small apps, it's okay. When application is large,
Hmm.
when there are a lot of animations in application, so sometimes the animations are make apps slow. So in that case, the Flutter
Right.
is the best solution, and Flutter has also runs on a single thread. It means if we have a large animation in an application, we can run the animations on a different thread and remaining application on a different thread. So that is the one more thing that Flutter is giving an edge on other technologies. So
Right.
by avoiding the extensive set of platform-specific libraries, which can be challenging to integrate due to difference in Android and iOS and other platform-specific library, Flutter is one man show. That's all.
Right, right. So since you mentioned app size, and since this was supposed to be a question and answer session, but since you mentioned it, I think it's relevant to answer it over here. Somebody's asking, why are Flutter apps so big in size? Why are they so large?
There are several reasons for the large application side. So Flutter app bundles actually says a significant portion of Flutter framework. So for example, uh, if we want to use any kind of assets in the Flutter, or if we want to use any kind of uh, you can see custom fonts in Flutter application. So we need to manually include that. There are libraries for it, third party libraries. There are, but they also they can say they can also occupy some space. Moreover,
Correct.
Flutter built binaries for multiple architecture like ARM64 for Android V8. For this is also this wide compatibility across different Android devices and iOS devices also increases the app sizes. And we can also see that uh, uh, we can also have some techniques for reducing the app size, where we can use optimize the assets, and in we can use the release mode when the application is finalized, because in release mode the size is smaller as compared to debug and profile mode. And we can also use ProGuard for it, because actually ProGuard can help to reduce the size of final APK by removing unused code and obstructing the remaining code. Moreover, there are other techniques that for we can generate AAB file for our build final build. That AAB file is better when we are going to upload on it Play Store. So that is the that in some techniques we can reduce the size of the our build. But if we talk about why it is too much large, the simple answer is that Flutter requires a significant portion of for the application, and that includes
Mhm.
because it has its own graphic engine, all things it has. It doesn't use any kind of third party things like bridging. That's why the size of build, especially during debug, is larger.
Okay, I think that answers the question. Okay, so Abir, can you share your experience of using Flutter as well with us?
I'm really excited to share how Flutter became a game changer in my mobile application development journey. So let's start with the famous hot reload feature of Flutter. This feature allowed real-time UI changes without rebuilding the entire project. Basically, you make some changes in the project, you press a button or two, and instantaneously the changes are reflected on the screen. This instantaneous feedback of changes became a major deciding factor for me to delve more into Flutter and learn about more of these amazing features. Another major challenge I always encounter is handling different screen sizes. I'm not a designer person, and for me, it would have been a deal breaker if it was not for the Flutter's responsive layout system widgets. Using responsive layouts and ability to customize them to however I require was such a great experience. Using that, I was able to create a single design for a screen that adapts to multiple screen sizes. Now, making adaptive designs is like a walk in a park. Since then, Flutter has become my trusty sidekick, and the developers who have experience building mobile apps using other frameworks or technologies will also agree with me that it's really a developer's dream come true. And I believe that pretty much sums up my personal experience using Flutter.
All right, thank you so much. So now we'll be moving into the question and answer session. I have somebody, okay, so Ellie Nova wants to know how we can migrate existing native apps to Flutter. Umar, can you please answer this question? How can we migrate existing native apps to Flutter?
Yeah, sure. Migrating an existing native app, either it is on Android and iOS, is not a straightforward one-click process, but it involves an iterative approach. So the complexity of migration also depend upon the size of the existing native application. So we have two approaches of migration. First one is using platform channels. We can use platform channel in Flutter, and the platform channel will communicate with the native code, and we can run the application on the Flutter. It doesn't change any kind of functionality in Flutter unless there is a requirement. So, but I mentioned earlier that it is not even a straightforward technique. There is a drawback for it as well, because if you are using a native iOS application and you want to convert it into the Flutter and use platform channel on iOS, it will work fine. But if you want to run it on another platform, it will not work fine because Flutter is our platform channel is calling native iOS code, but on Android there will be no code will be empty, and so there will be no application will not run. So the best performance is to write the code from the scratch. But for writing the code for the scratch, we need to understand few things. So uh, it doesn't mean that we are just starting writing the application from scratch and everything is writing from the scratch. We should adopt the incremental migration. It means we can work feature by feature. You can take one module from the application and convert it into the Flutter and run the application by using platform channels, and like one module is in Flutter and remaining application is native, and by communicating through platform channels you can run the Flutter application. So this incremental approach will be better. Moreover, Flutter uses a new language which is Dart. So if your team doesn't have experience with Flutter, it will be uh, crucial to understand Dart and Flutter widget-based approach. Moreover, Flutter also provides support to create Flutter modules. Flutter modules, usually when we start a project, we create a new project of Flutter, which is an entire project. But Flutter also provide us an option to create modules. So we can create a Flutter modules. We can test the modules individually. Like you have an e-commerce application in native, you want to create a
Right.
module where you show the list of products. So you can create a Flutter module and you can run it as an individual. After that, you can integrate all those modules. So this will be an incremental migration approach that will be better if you are not much familiar with the Flutter.
Right. Oh, thank you so much. That explains it. So the next question that we have is, in terms of development costs and maintenance, did these companies notice any significant differences compared to traditional app development approaches? I think this is related to the real world use cases that you mentioned, Abir. Can you answer this question? Did these companies notice any significant differences compared to traditional app development approaches?
I think first of all, the most prominent aspect that will be reducing the costs is the development cost. So many companies have noticed cost saving in terms of labor because Flutter's single code base allows developers to work on both Android and iOS platforms, reducing the need for separate development teams. So if they had separate teams for Android and iOS, or even web or desktop as well, now they only need only one Flutter team. And because the development is much faster because of the Flutter's hot reload feature and widget-based UI development, these things also can accelerate the development process. So in the long run, they will also be reducing some cost in this as well. Also, there will be code reusability, obviously, because they have a single code base. So the code reusability is will be much more than there will be in native because there will be no code sharing in native Android or native iOS. But when we are working Flutter, you will be sharing much components from native Android and native iOS because all these screens or functionalities or implementations are already in Flutter. Uh, One aspect as well where they will be experiencing such low cost will be maintenance. Because of again because of the unified code base, maintenance is simplified with the unified code base. So updates, bug fixes, and feature enhancements can be applied uniformly to both Android and iOS, which will in turn reduce maintenance costs, and as well as we previously talked about the feature disparity. So apps will be having the same features at the same time, and they will be much likely to release earlier than their native counterparts. All in all,
Right.
I think companies will be experiencing at least 50% reduction in their cost.
That's massive. That's a lot. And yes, we've been talking about this cost-effective aspect of Flutter, and we've been really emphasizing that it really helps you save money. So, okay, I have a question as well. Not that anybody in the audience has asked this, but I was curious, and I wanted to. We've talked about a lot of benefits of Flutter, but can you, Abid, can you take the floor and tell me one drawback of Flutter? There must be a drawback, right?
The main drawback actually is the Dart language itself, not in a typical way, but in the way that it's an entirely new language. And its syntax is entirely new. So if a developer
Right.
has to move to the Flutter, he needs to learn it from the scratch. So that's a drawback. And another drawback is Flutter paints is its layout on the pixel density basis. So what is pixel density? It is actually pixels per inches or pixels per centimeters. So let's say we
Mm-hmm.
have a button or a view which is 50 pixels wide and 50 pixels in length. So if a device has like 50 pixels per inches density, so that view or button will be drawn on 50 pixels. Okay. And let's say if a device has 100 pixel per inches, so that button or view will be drawn on half of the portion of that pixels. So there will be no significant placement issues like views will be placed on its actual positions on which they are drawn, but on the width and length basis, the views can be different depending on
Mm.
the pixel density. For iOS, for Apple, iPhone applications, the difference won't be huge because all application devices almost have the same pixel density. But because there are a lot of Android application manufacturers like Samsung, Google Pixel, Vivo, and all of the devices,
Right.
even devices in the same company have different pixel density and resolution.
Right.
So it is a
Mm.
kind of drawback to draw out the layouts, but it can be actually handled via in the code on check basis that if the resolution and pixel density of the screen is that, then the view should be placed on this long and uh, wide. And if the pixel density is different, then the views should be different in size. So this is a
Right.
drawback, but it can be tackled easily.
Okay. Okay. With regards to to Dart being a very different language from other programming languages, how long do you think, on average, would a developer take to learn this language? Like, can you learn it in 3 months?
Uh, easily, because if a developer is in its his development phase, he already knows about the data structures and the other stuff like that, which almost every language
Hmm.
uses. So it's only the
Right.
syntax matters. So if a developer needs to learn the Flutter, if he already has uh, concepts and about data structure and other things about a language. So syntax can be learned easily within a few months or weeks, depending on the developer.
All right. Okay. So, one more question that we have. Raza wants to know why Flutter apps are more expensive than Android native apps.
According to me, that Flutter is actually relatively a new as compared to the Android traditional development. So due to it is a new language, so there might be few developers with deep expertise in Flutter. But Java is a
Okay.
very old language. So if we compare the number of developers in market, so there will be more developers for Java as compared to Dart. So hiring special talent that could be
Definitely.
potentially more expensive. Uh, so that this is the one of the reason
That,
that
yeah.
yeah this is the one of the
Yes.
reason. And if you are well versed with Android development but new to the Flutter, so you need to
Hmm.
learn the time learn you need some time to learn the things. So it can also be an additional cost for the employer or company. uh, Being a developer, you are learning the things. So this is how that Flutter can be expensive as compared to the Android.
All right. So, Umar, Albert wants to know how much you can save when you develop an application using Flutter as compared to React Native.
So actually, comparing the Flutter and React Native is a bit challenging, uh, but it depends on various factors. To be honest, as we know that Flutter and React Native are both cross-platform. But if we want to develop application for, I mean, desktop, or if we want to develop for Windows, Mac OS, or even for web. So Flutter is more stable as compared to the React Native. So in that
What do you mean when you say more stable? What does stability imply over here? What do you mean
stable,
by stability?
yeah, stability here we will stability efforts had the support. The Flutter provides more support, more number of
All right,
libraries
right.
uh, for desktop applications. Even I don't think so we can develop any desktop application in React Native. So here Flutter
Mm,
is saving our developing cost, developing time as compared to React Native. So
right.
moreover, the Flutter I mentioned earlier while comparing React Native and Flutter that Flutter is React Native was bit slower when the applications are much complex. It have more number of animations, so it can be much more complexer and it can be much more lesser performance due to the more number of modules, more number of animations. But Flutter doesn't use any kind of third-party communication, and it makes application really fast. So this is also an aspect that it makes more time effective and in development. But on the other hand, Flutter has some there is a drawback, that is initial learning curve in Flutter because it is new and React Native uses
Yeah,
JavaScript. So JavaScript is
yeah.
actually very old language. It is used in web as well. So
Mm,
uh, uh, more developers, if you are web developer, you can easily develop application
mm.
using JavaScript, and React Native purely use JavaScript. So if you are a web developer and you want to develop an application in Android, sorry, in mobile, so as my thing that if you don't have enough time learning curve, so you should opt React Native because React Native use JavaScript, which is similar to web. And if you have enough time, then you should go for the Flutter. So for short-term perspectives, React Native is good, and for long-term goal, Flutter is good.
Right, okay. Okay, so that explains it. Great. I think we're done with the questions. Yes. So no more questions. All right. Thank you so much to our speakers, but most importantly to the audience. Thank you all for joining us today. If you want any further assistance, if you need to learn more about how Xavor and yes, Flutter can help you achieve your goals, please feel free to reach out to us. As you can see on your screen, it's at info@xavor.com. Drop us a line and we'd love to get in touch with you. As for this webinar, we'll be sharing a recording with you very soon. So I thank you all once again. Thank you. Have a good day.